All right, Joey, welcome to BYU Sports Nation. Great to have you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, 2019, BYU goes down to Tampa, loses that game. We're going to see some familiar characters in that play. Jaron Hall, maybe Baylor Romney, we'll see. It's been 2 years. What, if anything, do you take away from that game that could have anything to do with this game this year?
I think mostly it's just that USF's confident knowing that they have beaten BYU with maybe some of the same players in the same places. So maybe they can draw on that. But the truth is a lot has changed for USF. Certainly a new coach, a lot of new players. So, it's more of a distant memory than something specific, but maybe just the ability to know you can compete and beat a team like BYU can provide some confidence.
And it's interesting. We were just talking about the show on the show that since that loss, BYU's 19-3. They really turned a corner since then. So that's been the sort of benchmark, interesting game in BYU recent history. I do want to mention that Coach Jeff Scott was asked about snow on the mountains earlier this week by a media member. There's no snow quite yet, so you don't have to bring a long jacket. You didn't. I hope you didn't pack one.
I did pack a long sleeve thing because, if it's in the 60s or 50s, me being a Florida guy, we'll need a little something on my arms. But I'm looking forward to the invigorating air because we've had a stifling, steamy, rainy summer like we always do. So this will be a literal breath of fresh air to get out and be in Utah for sure.
Yeah, it'll be great to have the program this far west. I know it's rare to come this far, so it'll be entertaining. Okay, when you talk about the lateness of the game too, this is a 10:20 Eastern kick. Trust me, it's late for even BYU in the Mountain Time Zone. What impact, if any, physically could that have on the South Florida players?
Well, obviously you've got to prepare for it, and they have prepared for it. The players are in place. They left yesterday. So they are already in Provo and trying to get their body clocks arranged properly. And, not only that, when do you eat, when do you practice, when do you rest? And hopefully by game time they'll have all that sorted out. So they are making efforts to make sure that they can adjust to the late time. I think for fans back home in the East time zone, it's going to be definitely interesting. Game tipping off at 10:20 at night. They're not accustomed to that. It's the latest starting USF game on East Coast time in the history of the program. So it's definitely a late night with USF kind of thing where maybe the college kids will get together and wear their pajamas and watch the game or something like that. But definitely unusual. But they do have and have had time to adjust to it. So, but adjusting to it and actually feeling good about it and having your body right. Game time are two different things, so hopefully they'll take the necessary precautions.
Yeah, college kids up late at night. That happens. It's just different when you're having to tackle someone, right, I guess. Let's talk about TIMMY McClain, the quarterback. So got his first start. He's a freshman, did well against Florida A&M last week. What do you expect from him? Because I know in the game notes they said, hey, you know who else first started against Florida A&M? Quentin Flowers, who was amazing a couple years ago.
Yes, and they both wear number 9. Interestingly enough, Quentin Flowers, people called him Q. That's easy to figure out, Quentin. Guess what they call Timmy McClain? His nickname is also Q. You might think, why is a guy named Timmy McClain nicknamed Q? Well, his middle name is Jaquil with a Q. And turns out back in the day when he was playing youth football, I guess they referred to him as Jaquil, and some people couldn't pronounce it, and the coaches just said, hey, we're just going to call you Q. And it stuck. And, you hear people say, hey, Q, and you think, why are they calling Timmy McClain Q? But that is literally his nickname. So a lot of parallels with Quentin Flowers, and not exactly the same type of player, but some similarities. I mean, he definitely is elusive, can move with his feet, probably has a better arm than Quentin Flowers does. Timmy is also a left-hander. He will look a lot like a Michael Vick physically in terms of the mobility and the setup and the way he delivers the ball from the left hand. It will remind you of that, and his ability to elude tacklers and make plays and keep his head about him is really exceptional for a true freshman. again, it's very early in his career, but he certainly has the makings of a guy that has the potential to really, really be very, very good. And another positive thing about him is he has a great mind and a great attitude toward the whole thing. He's very unflustered. He's not going to be a jumpy freshman. He is wise beyond his years. His father refers to him as an old soul, and he's one of those kids that growing up has studied quarterbacks. He reads about them. He watches films on them. And one of his favorite quarterbacks is Bart Starr, which seems to make no sense because Bart Starr retired from the NFL 3 decades before Timmy McClain was born. But he's one of those guys that studies history, studies quarterbacks, and is a film room, meeting room, junkie kind of kid that takes great notes. So, being a good quarterback matters to him, and preparing to be a good quarterback matters to him. So those are all very positive signs for a guy that's kind of just starting out.
Bart Starr, consider me impressed. That's going deep into the pockets of NFL history in the 60s there. I like that a lot. Okay, I love a good nickname. So Big Play Weaver, Xavier Weaver, top 10 in the country at 15 yards per punt return. A punt return is a rare thing nowadays, and then BYU has a punter who put up an 83-yarder last week in Ryan Rico, so that matchup could be a ton of fun.
It could, and Xavier Weaver also is doing great things at wide receiver. They probably need to figure out more ways to get him the ball because he's averaging a high yardage total in a very small sample size. But I think we're going to look to see him targeted more and more. The crazy thing about the punt return is it's not something he really has done much or at all. Literally a couple of weeks ago before the first game, whoever they had back there getting punts, they weren't happy with him. And the coach just kind of said, hey, who can return punts? And Xavier raised his hand. And that's literally how this started. And he went back there, and first of all, they felt secure in his ability to catch the ball, which is always the first thing. And he has shown the ability to make things happen. So he has found a name for himself, or found a home for himself as a punt returner when he hadn't really done it at all. So this is happening right before our eyes in real time.
Well, it's a good thing Donovan Jennings, the left tackle, didn't raise his hand in that moment, I guess, right?
Exactly. I don't think you would have quite the same average.
I don't think we're going to do that, Donovan, but thank you for raising your hand. The third down emphasis is fun. Apparently on third down, the offense yells money, and then on defense, they yell cash. Obviously an important down, but it's kind of a new tradition, I guess, with this group.
Yeah. They're, and I wouldn't say by any means they've been really efficient on either side of the ball on third downs yet, but they know that's important, and they're trying to get better at it. That's one of the many things that they need to get better at to turn the corner as a program. The rebuilding has been underway for a couple of years. The last year, and a confusing year for everybody with COVID, the Bulls were 1-8, won their first game at the Citadel, and then lost 8 straight. So, and this year, off to a 1-2 start with the win over Florida A&M. So they are looking for their first FBS win since 2019. They have certainly gotten more talent in the program, and I think they will find their way back. It's just going to take some time, and it's going to take some baby steps. And they are certainly not shy about playing good competition. They opened at NC State. They're coming to BYU this week, and they played Florida. And this is something they're going to do a lot in the next few years. They're going to play high-caliber competition out of conference. In fact, BYU will open the season next year in Tampa, coming back down to Raymond James Stadium. So when the team gets back on it, finds its sea legs, and gets back in winning ways, they figure to have the type of non-conference schedule that could maybe open some doors for them. But in the meantime, the learning process can be painful and painstaking. So that's kind of where they are now. They're trying to get better at a lot of things, and baby steps. Maybe they'll take a giant leap one of these weeks. We'll see. But it's a building process that we're seeing each week.
Hey, baby steps, Bill Murray. I like that a lot. Next year, BYU will play its final season as an independent and then be a member of the Big 12 the next year. UCF as well, the war on I-4, the rivalry with UCF. What's the reaction there as the Knights are headed to the Big 12 there?
Well, it's a lot of chatter about that among the fan bases, as you might imagine, because the shoe was on the other foot years ago when USF, in its 8th season as a program, was invited to join the Big East, which at the time was what they called a BCS conference that had access to the major bowl games, and UCF was not invited to that level. So now it's changed. UCF is getting a seat at what you maybe call the grown-ups table, and USF is not at the moment. But I think in a lot of ways it's going to spur USF into action. There is ground has been broken on a new indoor facility at USF, which the football program is desperately needed. And now there is finally talk of building an on-campus stadium, which they've never had. They play at Raymond James Stadium, which is the home of the Buccaneers, the home of the last Super Bowl, a very, very fine, state-of-the-art, world-class stadium. The only problem is it's not on USF's campus. So the hope is that if they build an on-campus stadium, it will help grow the program in a lot of ways, and certainly would be a really key factor in perhaps one day maybe being invited to a place like the Big 12 or so forth. USF certainly has that potential, being in Tampa, in Florida, where football is king, where there are a lot of television eyeballs. So USF just needs to get back on a winning track and build some things. And I think maybe they have a chance to up their ante in the conference realignment situation.
Well, sounds great. We are looking forward to the matchup tomorrow night. Safe travels, and we appreciate the time, Joey.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, and look forward to seeing you guys.